Welcome back to my channel, Celebes. Please share and subscribe and press the bell icon for new updates. Bob Newhart really hated him more than anyone else. Bob Newhart was born Robert Newton Newhart on September 5, 1929 in Oak Park, Illinois. He grew up in a regular family home and went to Loyola University in Chicago, where he learned about money and first worked as someone who keeps track of money for businesses. But even while working with numbers, Newhart found out he was really good at making people laugh. He would perform at small clubs nearby and practice telling jokes in little places. Newhart became famous in 1960 when he made his first comedy record called The Button-Down Mind of Bob Newhart. The record was made with real people watching at a small comedy club in Chicago. It showed his special way of pretending to talk on the phone and having make-believe conversations, letting the people listening imagine the other person talking. This was something totally new back then. The record became #1 on the music charts, and it was the first funny record to ever reach the top spot. He won a Grammy Award in 1961 for Best Comedy Album. This big success made Newhart a star in the comedy world and changed how people made funny records. People loved his humor because it was about normal, everyday things that worried or confused regular people. This was different from the silly physical comedy or really wild, funny acts that most comedians did back then. In the middle of the 1960s, Bob Newhart easily moved into making TV shows. He starred in The Bob Newhart Show, which was on TV from 1972 to 1978. On this show, he played Dr. Robert Hartley, a doctor who helps people with their feelings in Chicago. He dealt with the weird and strange things his patients, co-workers, and family did. The show became really popular right away. People loved it not just because it was funny, but because it showed how people really act with each other. Newhart's serious face and calm way of acting became what the show was known for. This got him praise from TV critics and several nominations for Emmy Awards. The success of the show proved he could make things funny while also making them feel real. He played characters who weren't just silly, but people you could understand and care about. Besides The Bob Newhart Show, Newhart's job lasted for many decades and showed he could do lots of different things. In the 1990s, he came back to TV with a show called Newhart. This show made his reputation even stronger as someone who was great at making everyday situations funny. In this show, he played Dick Len, a man who ran a small hotel in a tiny Vermont town full of weird local people. The show became famous, not just for its smart writing and characters, but also for its amazing final episode that people still talk about as one of the best TV endings ever made. People were amazed by Newhart's ability to surprise them, make them happy, and leave them remembering the show forever. This proved he was a performer who had gotten perfect at his job after working for decades. Just like the Bob Newhart Show before it, which had already made Bob Newhart a name everyone knew. And a special quiet, funny voice, Newhart was a big hit when it first started. The show featured Newhart's special way of telling jokes with a straight face, perfect timing, and finding humor in everyday things that happened to regular people. This time, it happened at a small hotel in Vermont. TV critics loved the show for its clever writing, well-created characters, and Newhart's easy charm. Audiences quickly loved the strange group of characters, including the hotel's weird local people, each with their own silly habits that created endless funny situations. The show was so well-liked that it got multiple Emmy nominations during its 8 years on TV. Proof how good the writing was and how skillful Newhart's acting was. By the time Newhart ended in 1990, it had made 182 episodes, leaving a lasting mark on American TV comedy and making Newhart's reputation solid as one of the most loved, funny actors of his time. The final episode itself, famous for its surprise twist ending, is still called one of the greatest TV show endings in history. It showed Newhart's talent for mixing humor with creative ideas. 2 years later, in 1992, Bob Newhart came back to TV with another big project, a sitcom, just called Bob. In this show, he played a person who draws cartoons for a living. This character let him explore a more playful and creative side while still keeping his trademark, quiet humor. Even though the show got mostly good reviews from TV critics who liked Newhart's comedy timing and the clever idea, it had trouble getting enough people to watch it. The show faced tough competition in TV ratings, and despite being good, it failed to connect widely with viewers. This led to the show being canceled shortly after its second season, which was unusual for Newhart since his TV shows were usually very successful. Even so, Bob showed that Newhart was willing to try different types of shows and that he was dedicated to taking roles that let him explore new ways of being funny. Throughout the 1990s and 2000s, Bob Newhart kept staying active in the entertainment world through his comedy albums. This made his reputation even stronger as a master of stand-up comedy. During this time, he released important albums including Off the Record, The Button-Down Concert, and Something Like This. These works showed his gift for making observations about life funny and telling stories. Newhart's calm, understated way of talking turned everyday situations into hilarious thoughts about how people behave. Even decades into his career, Newhart's ability to connect with audiences through subtle wit and perfect timing stayed unmatched. These albums let fans enjoy his humor in recorded form, capturing what his live performances were like. Starting in 2001, Newhart experienced a comeback on TV, appearing on many different shows. He shared his talents on popular series like Mad TV, showing his flexibility by doing sketch comedy, and Desperate Housewives, where his presence added classic comedic seriousness. He also became part of the Librarian TV movie series, appearing in Quest for the Spear, Return to King Solomon's Mines, and Curse of the Judas Chalice. Each time, he brought his signature charm and wit to his roles. His appearances in crime dramas like NCIS and guest spots on sitcoms like Committed showed his lasting appeal across different types of shows. This proved his brand of humor could still connect with modern audiences while keeping the timeless qualities that had made him famous decades earlier. In 2013, Newhart joined the cast of the hugely popular American sitcom The Big Bang Theory, playing the beloved character Arthur Jeff, also known as Professor Proton. His role on the show got widespread praise as Newhart perfectly captured the nostalgic charm of a former children's science TV host, mixing warmth, humor, and a touch of sadness. He stayed a regular presence on the show until 2018, contributing to some of the series' most memorable and heartfelt moments. His acting earned both critical praise and a new connection with a younger generation of viewers who might not have known his earlier work. This proved the lasting importance of his comedic talent. Following The Big Bang Theory, Newhart continued to make TV appearances, delighting audiences with guest spots on The Late Late Show with Craig Ferguson, where his dry humor and conversational style shined in a talk show setting. He also appeared in sitcoms like Hot in Cleveland and Return to the World of the Librarians. This showed his ongoing love for acting and his ability to easily adapt to both comedic and light dramatic roles. In 2017, he brought back his iconic role as Arthur Jeff Professor Proton in the coming-of-age sitcom Young Sheldon. This further extended the legacy of one of his most beloved characters and delighted fans with his familiar, understated wit that had captivated audiences for more than half a century. On January 12, 1963, Bob Newhart, the legendary comedian and actor known for his understated humor and deadpan delivery, married Virginia Lillian Jenny Quinn. She was born on December 9, 1940, and passed away on April 23, 2023. Jenny Quinn came from a family with strong connections to the entertainment industry. She was the daughter of character actor Bill Quinn, whose work in movies and TV gave her early exposure to the performing arts. The couple's meeting was helped by the iconic comedian Buddy Hackett, who saw the potential match between the quick-witted Newhart and the charming, supportive Jenny. Their marriage represented not only a personal union, but also a blending of two worlds connected to comedy and performance. This created a foundation for a stable family life in the often chaotic and unpredictable environment of show business. Together, Bob and Jenny built a family based on love, stability, and shared values. They had 4 children over a span of 14 years. Robert, born in 1963, came into the world just as Newhart's career was beginning to get national attention. Timothy, born in 1967, grew up during the height of Newhart's TV success in the 1970s. Jennifer, born in 1971, whose early years were shaped by her father's rising fame and the family's commitment to keeping a normal home life. And Courtney, born in 1977, who joined the family as Bob was already firmly established as a TV and comedy icon. Over the years, the Newharts expanded their family to include 10 grandchildren, further extending their legacy and the close family bonds that Bob and Jenny had built over decades. Faith played an important role in their lives. Both Bob and Jenny were practicing Catholics, and they consciously chose to raise their children in that same faith. They taught them the values, traditions, and spiritual foundation that had shaped their own upbringing. Despite the demands of Newhart's career, which included extensive touring, TV appearances, and movie work, the couple put their family life first. They created a nurturing environment where their children could grow up with both a sense of normalcy and an awareness of the entertainment world that surrounded them. Their marriage, lasting for 6 decades until Jenny's passing in 2023, stood as proof of their mutual devotion, strength, and the enduring power of family in the life of one of America's most beloved comedians. Bob Newhart, the legendary comedian known for his dry wit, perfect timing, and ability to turn even a pause into a laugh, had a surprisingly strong and openly negative opinion about his good times, star Jimmy Walker. While Newhart was widely admired for his calm, understated approach to comedy and his preference for subtlety over flashiness, Walker's over-the-top style and constant demand for attention reportedly clashed with everything Newhart valued in a performer. "I couldn't stand him," Newhart once admitted bluntly in an interview, emphasizing that his feelings went far beyond simple professional irritation. He didn't just dislike working with Walker. According to him, Walker represented everything he found annoying about modern show business: ego-driven, flashy, and unwilling to respect the craft of comedy as a disciplined art form. Newhart's frustration reportedly came not only from Walker's comedic style, but also from his behavior behind the scenes. Where Newhart was methodical, calm, and dedicated to working well with others professionally, Walker was often loud, demanding, and self-promoting. It was like he thought the show revolved around him, Newhart commented, revealing the personal irritation that grew over time. For a comedian like Newhart, who believed in timing, subtlety, and building jokes that relied on interaction and nuance, Walker's constant attempts to steal the spotlight created tension on set and drained the energy from scenes that required careful pacing. Moreover, Newhart was reportedly disturbed by Walker's approach to fame and celebrity. He saw Walker as someone who pursued the spotlight at any cost, often overshadowing the ensemble cast and undermining the collective work of the show. "I always felt like he was trying to turn good times into the Jimmy Walker Show," Newhart said, his words dripping with frustration. For Newhart, who valued respect, patience, and the quieter craft of performance, Walker's behavior wasn't just irritating. It was a fundamental betrayal of what it meant to be part of a team. The intensity of Newhart's dislike was also amplified by Walker's off-screen persona, which Newhart felt was just as performative and self-serving as his on-screen antics. He observed how Walker's flamboyant personality seemed to seek validation constantly, a stark contrast to Newhart's low-key professionalism and focus on comedy as an art form rather than a vehicle for ego. "I've never met anyone so obsessed with being liked and noticed all the time," Newhart remarked. This combination of on-screen ostentation and off-screen self-absorption, in Newhart's view, made Walker a uniquely difficult colleague, one whom he could scarcely tolerate. In the end, Bob Newhart's feelings toward Jimmy Walker weren't merely casual annoyance. They were a deeply felt hatred that colored his memories of working on the show. Newhart's statements about Walker were honest, unmistakable, and repeated in multiple interviews over the years, signaling that this wasn't a passing frustration, but a profound personal distaste. "I can honestly say I've never disliked a co-star more. Newhart once concluded, leaving no doubt about the intensity of his feelings. For a man who built a career on humor, patience, and composure, his hatred toward Walker stood out as a rare moment of unfiltered emotion in his otherwise measured life and career. In 1985, Bob Newhart experienced a serious health scare when he was hospitalized for secondary polycythemia, a rare blood disorder characterized by an abnormal increase in red blood cells. This condition was closely linked to his decades-long habit of heavy smoking, which he had never been able to fully break despite his awareness of the associated health risks. During his hospitalization, Newhart underwent careful medical monitoring and treatment over the course of several weeks, a period that forced him to slow down and reflect on the toll his lifestyle choices had taken on his health. Following his recovery, he made the conscious decision to quit smoking, recognizing it as a necessary step to preserve his well-being and ensure he could continue performing and living a fulfilling life. This turning point in his personal life marked the beginning of a healthier chapter, demonstrating his strength and willingness to make significant changes even after many years of established habits. Bob Newhart ultimately passed away from complications stemming from several short illnesses at his home in Los Angeles on July 18, 2024. At the remarkable age of 94, leaving behind a career that had spanned more than 6 decades. His death marked the end of an era in American comedy, as Newhart was widely regarded not only for his deadpan delivery and unique comedic timing, but also for his humility, kindness, and enduring influence on generations of comedians and entertainers. Upon hearing of his passing, President Joe Biden released a formal statement paying tribute to Newhart's extraordinary contributions to entertainment and American culture. In his statement, the president said, "Today, we mourn the loss of Bob Newhart, a comedy legend and beloved performer who kept Americans laughing for decades." This official acknowledgement from the highest office in the country underscored the deep cultural impact Newhart had achieved over his long career, reflecting the universal admiration for his talent and the genuine affection felt by audiences nationwide. Beyond the accolades and public recognition, his death prompted a wave of tributes from fans, fellow performers, and comedy historians alike, all of whom celebrated his unique ability to craft humor that was intelligent, subtle, and timeless.